Hello everyone, today I'm here to preview Garden Geckos for you. This is a tile placement with hexagonal tiles where you are these geckos trying to eat up insects and also gain patterns and connect different tiles together. In Garden Geckos you have 5 geckos of your colour, you're going to have a hand of 3 tiles and you're going to be playing those tiles down one on a turn, then refilling your hand, and you're trying to do a number of different sort of scoring objectives. So first of all, the best way I've found personally to score is to be matching the patterns. So when you add a tile, you must match it pattern wise, sort of triangle to triangle of your hexagons to an existing tile. Then you put a gecko of your colour down. At the start of the game, you're going to be adding one of your 5 geckos. Once all 5 are down, you'll have to move it from one place to another. Now, one of the objectives is to have geckos on certain types of terrain, and once you've done that, you'll be able to claim that on your turn and scoring the points at the end of the game for the little bugs at the bottom of it. Another one is that each of the tiles has insects, ladybirds and that sort of stuff sort of in the middle of them, and they show you sort of connection things. So maybe you need to connect a ladybird to a grasshopper or a fly to a ladybird, or maybe both of those, or maybe a worm to a worm to a worm, and that sort of thing. And that will again allow you to score that objective card if you do that on your turn. Now, a little caveat is, even if it's there at the start of your turn, you still need to do something to do with that objective that round to actually be able to score it. So you can't just get lucky with what comes out sort of in the market, but you can try and score one of those as well. You can also score an insect based on if you enclose a tile. Whoever has the most sort of connections from their geckos going onto that tile, they're going to get a matching insect type of whatever's in the middle of that tile. Every single insect, regardless of if it's one of those wooden ones that you're getting from enclosing a tile or along the bottom of those 2 different objective tile types, they're all worth a point. Then there's endgame objective cards. Everyone's going to get 1, and there's 2 types. Either you're going to be looking to collect a load of one type of bug, or at the end of the game have a big area of one type of terrain, one of those patterns that's been matched up, and each sort of diamond that you can form in the biggest area is going to be worth a point. So on your turn you are placing a tile, then moving or placing a gecko onto it on that connection point of that matching pattern. You're then hopefully scoring at least one of the different objective styles, and you can score one of each type, and you're going to go until one player has earned their 6th objective card. The draw pile runs out, and that's when the tile is drawn into hand, not necessarily actually when it's played out, or the supply of one of the bug types is fully used up. Now when that happens, you finish the end of the round, so everyone's had the same equal number of turns, and then you count up your points and see who wins. Now there's a number of things that I do like about this one. First of all, the 3 different objective scorings. That's a absolutely brilliant thing. It feels like it's just the right amount to sometimes make you really puzzle and work out what's the best tile placement opportunity I can do. Am I going for those pattern spaces and not caring what I'm connecting? Am I connecting those insects in sort of a worm to a fly to another worm? Am I trying to get that connection? And well, some of the easier ones, they're worth less points or more points, depending on maybe covering more or less patterns or more of the same pattern and stuff like that. And I just really like that you've got those going on, as well as you're trying to surround tiles and have connections there. You can get a good amount of points from those sort of collected, captured bugs. That's a really cool sort of element, that you've got those 3 that you're constantly having to think of and see opportunities. Oh, I could enclose that tile and get a bug. Oh, well, this gets me halfway to that objective. And well, I think this comes down to where I prefer the player count. I've really enjoyed it at 2. And that's because the objectives don't change too much between your turns. So you really can work towards something, and you can kind of also see what your opponent is working towards, because you've only got one other to really pay attention to. I think too many players and you're not really noticing where their geckos are being placed or what insects they're linking, and all of a sudden that one that maybe you were working for, they've come and grabbed it. Some people are going to love that, but I like the idea that I can try and work out, oh, you're going for this. I might miss it, but I can try and work that out and go, maybe I need to pivot and go for this objective card instead. So that's a sort of a personal thing that I preferred it at less, because you can plan a little bit more and try and work for one specific thing. But some people might like the fact that that market of objective cards is much fresher with more players. The time on the box is a fairly wide time. It says like 15 to 40 minutes. And well, to be fair, the half an hour sort of 40 minutes for even your first play at 2 players is probably about right, and you do then sort of speed up. You start to see those patterns in the tiles that bit easier. In your first game, it can be a little bit sort of, certainly near the beginning, when that map starts to grow, you're like, wow, there's a lot of patterns and connection points. But actually, as you go through that first game, you start to realise a lot of the connection ones, I'm looking towards the edge, because that's where I'm able to add the new tiles. So you've got this sort of thing where as you play a bit more, the time is going to come down, but it still does keep it within the time frame on the box. But I think even if you played with 4, let alone 6, that you can play the game with, you'd probably run over that 40 minutes in your first play. But like I say, the timer does come down the more you play. Now, I don't want to touch too much on production, because this is a preview and things might change through the Kickstarter, etc. But I have to say a couple of things. First of all, I'll do a slight negative, and I think that's that the box are, unfortunately, I think it looks a little more childish than the rest of the game portrays. And it might sort of mislead some people, as while it's fairly simple tile placement, there is certainly a lot of thinking and spatial awareness of placing those tiles down that's going on. It's not going to burn your brain, but it's maybe not something for just family audience. When it's actually on the table in front of you, there's some great elements. First of all, I think the patterns are all super clear and obvious. It's very, once you've got sort of to grips with it, clear what is linking what, and the wooden components that are in this for the preview, well, they're awesome. For those geckos, they're nice and colourful, and the bugs, well, they're just a little bit nice. If anything, it makes me want to do the sort of trapping in a tile more, because then I get those rather than a card sort of thing. So I really liked that, that sort of side of it. It really adds and feels like a really solid production. Obviously, I don't want to say guarantee it, because this is a preview and things might change, but you've got to give it props because it really does look good on the table. So overall, what have I thought of Garden Geckos? Well, it's a great tile placement game with geckos, bugs and points to score. I do particularly like those different ways. It's sort of reminiscent to me almost of like a Tekkenoko, with those different ways to score points, and I really do like that. I think once you've played a game, the speed does pick up, and it means that even, you can absolutely fly through a 2-player game. But I do think the 15-minute timer on the box, I think you'd really have to be going quite rapid for that. As I alluded to, for me, lower player count is where this shines, because you can plan ahead for those objectives and see what other people are doing. But if you want that sort of slightly more fresher market, bit more chaos of someone grabbing that objective of you just before you thought you might score it, or you might enjoy it at the higher player counts, and it does whiz around the table between players anyway once people are up to speed. Hopefully this has helped you know if Garden Geckos is going to be a game for you, and well, hopefully some tile placement goodness for your collection. Let us know what you think of the game if you've had a chance to play it yourself, or what you think of it from this preview. And until next time, have a gecko-filled good day.